the real Globetrotters, but it wasn't. It was like the East Harlem Globetrotters. And so I got there to see the Globetrotters, and two of the players were drinking beer. And it forever changed how I saw sports. So when the game took place, I never made eye contact with those players because they looked right through my dad's car, right through the windshield at me. And I saw those guys drinking beer. And my dad and I never talked about it. He backed up, went parking. He never brought it up. But it always reshaped, or really shaped, the way I saw sports. There's two games, the one you see the public and the one I saw as a kid. That's the real game. And years later, my friend, Jack Jones, his brother Brad went to a Raiders game. Raiders had Kenny Stabler and Biletnikoff. He got a pass into the locker room, and he told me Biletnikoff and Stabler were smoking cigarettes, playing cards in their jocks before the game. And that only empowered my vision of what sports is. There's two games. There's the game the public sees. I've always been more interested in what's really happening behind the scenes. And I've always been a Tom Brady guy over a Peyton Manning guy. Because I always feel Peyton, a good guy, is trying to sell me a message. And Tom's not. Tom's like, yeah, I'm coastal. I like fashion. I'd wear Uggs. Peyton's like, hey, I eat Oreos, drive a mid-size sedan. No, you don't. Doesn't mean he's a bad guy. But in this world we live in, when I'm inundated with ads and messages and agendas from celebrities and politicians and doctors and the government, and when I was a kid, the Harlem Globetrotters. Sweet Georgia Brown with some Miller Genuine Draft, is that anybody who's trying to sell me something turns me off. Peyton doesn't eat Oreos, and he doesn't drive a mid-size sedan. I always felt it was like Letterman and Leno. Letterman's kind of weird, odd, but that's okay. He didn't try to sell Iowa that he wasn't. Leno was writing for Nebraska. And so I've always sort of blanched at people who I think are selling me a message. Doesn't mean they're bad people. I bet Jay Leno's a great guy. I bet Peyton Manning's a great guy. But I've met 6 players in my life who know both. Nobody ever rolls their eyes with Brady. They respect both, but Tom is 100% authentic. But because Tom lives a life most of us can't, there's always been like that. He's arrogant. Really? I actually heard that about Peyton, never Tom. But there's a lot of jealousy out there. I don't love Brady over Peyton because he's 11-5 against him, or he's done more in his entire career with less, or he's got more rings, or actually a winning playoff record, or the fact that Tom seems to actually throw the ball better the worse the weather is. He was on fire last night. Strange. Brady's the best bad weather thrower in my entire life. Montana didn't throw well in the wind. Peyton doesn't throw well in the wind. I don't know what it is with Brady. Maybe it's that torque. The ball comes down like a slider. But if I told you one of these guys had a mansion, wine cellar, elevator, security fence, it's not Brady. Is that I feel like in this society, everybody's selling us something. Go to a grocery store. It's like Psychology 101. This is here so you'll buy it. That's there so you'll buy it. That's there to push you into that aisle. That smells here to get you over there. That's the whole grocery store. It's like a psychology lab. Let's get the consumer. Oh, so when I go to a grocery store, I feel like I'm fighting off all these messages. I'm not going to grab that cod. I'm a lab experiment. I'm in the beaker. And America is easy to manipulate, ads work, and that's why there's a million of them. Even Peyton's touchdown celebration, 500th, got to orchestrate it, got to plan it, we found out. Control the message. Everybody's controlling the message. Years ago, I had an agent. He said, I want to hire a PR guy for you. And I said, no. I said, if people don't like me for who I am, then I shouldn't be successful. But don't try to control what I am. This is it, warts and all. Pointy nose, receding hairline. Deal with it. Snarky, sometimes juvenile. Yeah, that's all me. Okay. So that's just, this morning I'm thinking, what is my grand message? I thought it was great that they played. I feel like it's Magic Bird, Ali Frazier. I've always felt lucky that we get these guys in their prime. I just like watching the game. Sunday night, 7 o'clock, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. Hands if you're interested. Me, always. I always said this. What do you like, Tiger or not? Tiger, Sunday, 4:30 in the hunt. Anybody interested? I am. Hello, I am. but I've always been more of a Brady guy. I was always more of a Magic than a Bird guy because I thought Magic was more joyous. I always felt Magic was enjoying himself more. Like he was really elevating the room. Bird, he was a steel worker, man. He was just grinding everybody. Great player. Bird's a great player. Best shooter, along with Dirk Nowitzki, I've ever seen in my entire life. Best shooting big in the history of the game going through any generation. But there's just certain reasons why we pick people. Now, I do think Peyton Manning's top 2 or 3 ever. And I think Brady's top 2 or 3 ever, and Joe Montana's up there. But that's I'm just giving you, I'm not telling you who to like. I'm just telling you what I like. I like authentic in a society now that is selling us something the minute they're on the air. Also last night, probably the liberal media, why nobody's talking about it. That dangerous liberal media. I lived in Vegas for like 7-8 years. And when I was in Vegas, 2 things were big. Boxing and Daredevils. Not going to lie to you. I'm into Daredevils. I would watch Nick Wallenda walk across a canyon before I'd watch the Super Bowl, 4th quarter, Brady Manning, if they could play tied at 17. I like Daredevils. And I've been to the events. I've never seen a guy die, but I've seen guys bite it. It's fascinating. Last night, Nick Wallenda was on the Discovery Channel. He went across skyscrapers in Chicago, this parking garage I've seen before, whatever that thing is, that circular thing, and freaked me out. Freaked me out. Wife had a sweating problem. I mean, it was just, we were flop sweating on the bed watching it. She's like, this is ridiculous. How can you watch this? And I'm like, what's interesting is that there's a real pushback. Discovery Channel is being desperate to show that stuff. A lot of pushback, like, oh, they're desperate. Even the guys this morning who are not into this Daredevil stuff nearly as much as I'm into this Daredevil stuff, a couple of the comments were this morning. What did you guys say? One of the knocks is, well, there's no competition. Nobody else in the world does this. Yes, there's competition. Nick Wallenda against death. That's called that's the ultimate competitor.